Hello and welcome back to After the Movies, the show where we talk about movies after you've hopefully seen said movies. I am Luke, and with me is my co-host,
Jonathan.
Yeah, so we are here to talk to you about the movie Brick, which if you haven't seen it, shame on you because it's been a decade.
It's been a decade.
He actually looked it up on IMDb.
I looked it up on the IMDb's.
Yeah, he said we couldn't, we had to break the cycle and
close the loop, so to speak. that's next. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, it's been a decade. Apparently, it was January of 2015 when this was debuted at Sundance. So it kept on making, the film festival circuit. So right around this time, September or so, in 2005, not 2015, because that would be
now.
We went and saw it at Sundance. We just came. No,
yeah.
It was no.
So hopefully you've seen this movie.
10 years ago, this movie came out. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, well, that's the point. You have had a chance to watch it.
And you should. And if you haven't, you should watch it and then come back and watch this because we're totally worth watching.
Totally.
Okay, so Rian Johnson, Brick.
Mm-hmm.
This is only like the second time you've seen this movie?
Yeah, this is number 2.
Okay, so just real quick, general impressions, thoughts from this film.
It's really clever. The thing I always think about as a filmmaker is that, this is like his indie movie, right? This is the movie where this is his feature film debut as far as I understand. And for a feature film debut, this movie's really clever and really well done. There's a lot of things, they make a lot of good use of what they have at their disposal, and they, doing a noir, a film noir in a high school is just clever.
I love it.
For me personally, the movie's not like my favorite thing in the world, but it's really well done and it's good. It's good. It's well done.
This guy. Okay. What for me watching it this time, and this is not my second time. I've watched it many times. For me watching it this time, what really stuck out to me was that, like, honestly, the sound quality is kind of low budget. Not very. It reminded me of my own sound quality, and I'm bad at sound. So I felt encouraged because I was like, man, these guys are making the most of the little that they have and just really knocking it out of the park with what they have. And even for as subpar as the audio is, they play with audio throughout the entire movie. And so for me, that just worked tremendously well. Other things that worked for me just from a just production standpoint are all of the low budget special effects that they threw into this movie. I mean, how many times can you use a black garbage bag and just like signify death and dreams and also just hint at everything that's coming forward in this movie? And they do it again and again. It's brilliant. I love it. They did a great job with that. So that worked for me. And then as Jonathan already pointed out, the script, super clever, just keeps you rolling. And the noir in high school, oh my goodness, it's perfect. So that all worked great for me. I think the acting is phenomenal. I think the characters are fantastic. Like, even the small little minor characters with the guy with the straw, it's so much good, just great stuff. So all of that just worked. What are the things that worked for you?
The things that worked for me. No, you're right. Every character, like you said, the guy with the straw, and that's one of those things they try to teach you. When you write a script, it's like, especially if you got a character that's not going to be in it for very long, or have a name. Sorry. Give it back to you all tied up. Anyway, that's the thing, right? The character that you maybe don't, that doesn't matter. You can make interesting. You can make the scene interesting just by giving them something to play with. He is now forevermore in that movie the guy with the straw. That's who he is.
Yep.
And that's kind of, they teach you to do that with many different characters. But yeah, every different character in there, Dode to Tug to
and stay out.
Yeah, yeah. That scene is funny.
The mother. Yeah. I mean, come on, great characters. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, the characters are well done, and they do have. It's one of those things. So the film noir, right? Like it's that genre where everything's supposed to be, in the gray area, right? Like you're not really supposed to know exactly who everybody is or what they're really trying to do or their motives. It's kind of got that sense of suspense where it's like you think you know what's going on, but you also know you're watching a film noir, and in a matter of minutes, everything's going to change, and everything's going to be flipped on its head, and there'll be new information, and then it'll happen again and again until finally we come to a resting place, right? So it's interesting to me thinking about the idea of how do you care about characters? How do you get interested in characters when really you're going to make it so they're not quote unquote solid? You're gonna be pushing them different places. You're gonna get new lights and perspectives on them constantly. And sometimes even your main character gets that way, right? But that's the thing I think that really makes the noir work, right? Is noir, you've got a central character, and there's always something in the past that plagues them, and you're gonna find out about that, and that's gonna give you quote unquote the new light to look at them in, as everything's revealed for everybody else. But otherwise, you're always core with them. You know what their motivation is, and that's what Brick does. The very first shot of the movie is here is your main character who is affected by the death of another character, and that's what's going to drive him forward through all of this movie, is that relationship, the death there, that whole thing. And so you're in with him, and that's your foundation. So when Doe changes perspective, like when we find out more about Doe, when we find out more about Tug, and he shifts, when the pin shifts, when the femme fatale becomes the femme fatale, like all those things can happen because you understand how you're supposed to think about them, but you also understand, more importantly, how your main character thinks about them. And so you can keep shifting everything because the main character is solid and you're in his shoes. That works. If you do that with your main character, you keep trying to like reverse anything or mess around. I'm not thinking of an example exactly, probably because that movie would suck and I wouldn't remember it because it's hard to do. Like, how do you do that? You have to have a baseline. And that's the thing. The noir gives you a baseline, and that's the other thing about this movie. It hits all the genre tropes actually really well. Like, I'm thinking about comparing it to Double Indemnity, which in my film school experience was like the film that I was shown to say, this is the film noir, this is Double Indemnity. Think about it, and it has all those moments. The femme fatale showing up for the first time in like beautiful clothing and being all seductive. Like, it happens. They go to a costume party and she's wearing like a geisha outfit. She's all like attractive and seducing him, and it's all those things. Every trope. He's in Double Indemnity, he gets shot or something, and he's getting sick through, like, the main character, the detective, is getting sick through the movie. Happens in this movie too. He gets beaten the crap out of so many times that he is just getting sick, and he's like puking blood, and he's just like, oh, he's getting worse and worse as the film goes on. And that's the other thing. He gets beat up. Like, it's not, he doesn't get shot or killed. His life does get in danger a few times, but he's constantly just beat up. And that's another thing that happens constantly in the film noir, is the main character, the detective, just gets the crap beat out of him the whole way through. And of course, as the film noir is known for, you've got these moments, these reveals, particularly at the end, when it's a sucker punch to the audience, but to the main character as well. Here's the last piece of information, or here's the outcome that you just did not see coming. Sorry. Sucks to be you. And then your film ends. So it has all the genre tropes. And it's set in a high school. It's a high school with moms giving orange juice and stupid teenagers being muscle and like gang wars and drugs, and it's ridiculous.
As well as that great line of like, yeah, the pin, he's like real old, like 26. Like just genius stuff. That's just fantastic.
So I guess at the end of the day, things that worked for me, a lot of those things were just how those genre tropes are hailed to, even though it's clever and it's turned on its head. It's all there. The characters are, like you said, very interesting, and I just was realizing, he's solid enough. Our main character, I understand him enough, and he's a foundation enough that I will stick with him, and I can view the rest of these changes through his eyes, and that works. But another thing I noticed, and like you said, talking about independent filmmaking, they've got like an old house and a high school and like a field, and they got a tunnel at one place, and that's their locations.
They also have the really nice house and the really nice cars. Like they right. Also have that.
They do have that. That's all their production value, right?
Yep. And I'm sure that it was like, hey, so your family has a really nice house. Can we shoot there?
For like a night, maybe. Please?
Sweet. Okay. Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is I realized they made the most with what they had.
Yes.
They kept on, choosing the right angles and choosing the right, changing up they kept on going to the different locations they had enough times. Not unneeded, everything is part of the story. It's not forced.
Right.
But there's enough changes in environment and in location that you don't get bored. Because that's another thing as an indie filmmaker, if you're in one place for too long, it just gets boring. It can be, especially unless you got something really good going on with your story. You can be like, well, what's going on? It's just kind of boring. We're stuck here. At the same time, plays and their stories work really well in one location, but they made the use of like the 3 or 4 locations they had, and they kept on switching it up and choosing different angles and different interactions that happen in a similar or different place. I mean, just a lot of good work there, and also just the camera work was really solid. They got some fun, crazy shots. Simple things like the fan, looking at the fan on the ceiling fan, and it's turning. It's like it's boring because it's just turning. He's just stuck in this room. And then you start to realize that he's kind of loopy because they take the camera and make it spin with the fan. So the fan stays still, but the room spins, right? And so it's just small things like that, but they add a nice touch. They get a nice emotional vibe. There's even a really good camera movement. Talk about simple, really, really simple camera movements that can mean a lot. I just didn't notice this the first time before, and it's probably because I knew it was coming. But there's the big scene where the Pin and Dode and our main character, who's Brendan, and Tug are all gonna find out who, Dode's gonna try to rat out Brendan to the Pin. Plot stuff. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry, you're probably lost. But the point is, it's a big reveal, and there's a bunch of tension, right? So the whole thing is Brendan's trying to get out of this because he knows that if Dode rats him out, his entire plan to bring down the Pin and everybody is going to be ruined. And what you don't know is the first time as the audience is that Tug is actually extremely nervous as well, because Tug knows that he actually killed her, and that's so the dialogue and the story, the writing is all there. So it's perfect that everything that's being said can apply to both of them. But you're going to think as the first time viewer that it applies to Brendan, but really it applies to Tug. And Tug is unaware that Dode thinks it's all those wonderful plays. But the film work, the camera shot I'm thinking of specifically, is they keep showing you Brendan and Dode and maybe even a wide shot of 3, right? And they purposely leave Tug. The only time we see Tug is never in the wide shot. We only see Tug behind in a 2-shot with Brendan, right? And as things and tensions heighten, right before Tug's going to pull out a gun and shoot Dode, okay, because he's so nervous about the whole thing. There's one simple movement, which is there's a 2-shot of Brendan and Tug, and it goes into the camera moves so that they're behind each other. And so Brendan's in front because we're focused on him in the first place, and Tug disappears behind him.
Totally gone.
Now, it works in 2 ways. One, it helps you as an audience to really forget about Tug as he's about to do something really drastic, so it's very surprising. You're like, whoa! But secondly, I didn't mean, maybe it's, I don't know. I realized this for myself. I was like, they're the same person in this moment. Like, that's the thing. The information applies to both of them, and it's like, no. Even though we're in Brendan and we're thinking about Brendan, he's the forefront. It's like, no. Tug and him at this moment are the same. Like, if the information is scaring them both, they are feeling the same thing. They're both worried.
That is so much film school BS. Like, I
think so.
But that's awesome. That's awesome.
I know.
What I also love about that is it also just focuses you completely on Brendan, and it's like, and Tug is completely out of the picture. He's gone. He's also just not there anymore.
Right.
But the really cool part about going back and rewatching this movie is that whole time he's been tearing up the grass, and he's super stressed about something, and you don't know why he's tearing up this grass.
Well,
then the grass floats by. And there's this moment, which I don't know exactly how intentional it is, but there's this moment where like Brandon like notices the grass being pulled, and there's this moment of like, wait a second, I think I know what's going on. And you even, like, he even catches on before you do as the audience. Like, he's on it, which is great as a Noir character to just be like, I'm so in the know. Like, it's not cool. Which, another example of that is he goes to the fight with Brad Bramish. Yeah. Thesaurus in the library. Love that! Okay, so he has this fight with Brad Bramish. He gets beaten up. and then he like walks away, and then you see him like stumble when he's out of view, like, okay, wow, that just really took it out of me. But then he knows the girl's following him, so the minute that she is almost into view, he like gets back into like, I'm cool, I'm good. And just that kind of control and demonstration of your character, I just so good. Love it.
Yeah, they do an excellent job of making you kind of endeared to Brendan and thinking he's very competent in that world, because they show his competence in small ways. But then, like, for instance, even just that first moment when, so the 2 days previous to her murder, right? And we get to know about him as a character, and we see, oh, he's interested in this, he's interested in that. And there's another thing that happens, talking about him being so controlled, so, you know, aware of people and how he interacts with them, and so on top of things. The only time you see him, like, quote unquote, out of control is when Emily shows up in the beginning of the movie. Because every other time he's waiting, he goes to someone's turf, he's walking. He never runs. The man walks everywhere. He's in control, he's doing his thing. And then,
except for the guys who kept stabbing.
well, that's later. I'm
Right.
talking, like,
Okay,
at this
okay.
point, we've
Yeah.
established that this guy is in control, he's competent, he's just walking. And then this girl shows up in the far distance, which we assume is Emily, right? And we see how much that matters to him, because for the first time, he gets off the wall and he runs. He runs to her.
And he runs fast. I ran in high school, cross country and stuff. I was not that fast. Like that guy, he just.
You watch him just like, it's interesting just to see how much his character shifts, and you see the vulnerability and the level of interest and just how everything is different for him with this person. And that also adds to the pain of when she dies and he sees that. You then really understand, even if I wasn't there for all of it, I know enough to know he really cares about her quite a bit.
But he's still competent enough to like totally steal her little flip booky like notebook.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah, it is a nice interplay, because he's always on top of things, but it's the line, right? It's the fun thing about it's the Noir genre technique as well. A character who's smart, competent, knows his way around, street smarts, all that kind of stuff. You always kind of think, oh, he's got this. But there's always something about that vulnerability, always something about that one thing they let in, right? That's always going to come back and get them. So they're always walking the line between being extremely competent, on their game, able to handle everything, and ultimately going to perish by can't see everything coming.
And that is another really good piece about, you know, character building, is that you have to have your character in some, even if they're like the superhuman who knows what's up and like is like a million miles ahead of everybody else, you still have to have something where you're like, okay, you've been through something, you're going through something, you're vulnerable in some way, because then I can relate to you. Then you can become the character that I'm following and that I'm rooting for. Because if it was just like I'm just winning no matter what, like, why would I care? And we do not want to have another Prometheus of like, why would I care about you guys? No, we care because we see this character, we know who he is, we know his strengths, we also know his vulnerabilities, and we see him get to play out, and we get to find out, is he going to be able to solve this thing or not?
We see what he wants to, right? That's the basic character interaction stuff. You see what he wants.
Yep.
And that's what I mean by, especially with like him running to the girl. He wants her. He wants her to at least be safe. He wants to take care of her. And she dies, right? So then, okay, so now what does he want? What's he going to do? And they have the nice scene with him in the brain where it's like, having seen how competent he's been already, seeing him be vulnerable with her, there's enough, like in that first act, right? The decision he makes where he's like, tell me not to do this because it's the stupid thing to do. And he knows it's the stupid thing to do. But he wants to do it. Why? Because he's emotionally charged. And I'm not as emotionally invested as he is, obviously. But as an audience member, I'm watching and I'm going, I get this. Like, I feel what he's feeling. I sense what's going on here. And when he says, you know, the question is, do you think you can go in there, find out what really happened, and get everyone who did anything to pay for it? And he's like, yeah, I think I could do that. You know, it's a revenge story. That's the other thing. It's a Noir film, but it's a Noir revenge high school film. It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, and I love, again, just with the cleverness of the writing, that library scene with him and Brain, shot through the book stacks and all that stuff, that's just great. It's just great usage of the limited stuff that you have. Okay, so what do you have? Well, we have the school's library, okay, well, how do we make that interesting? How do we make that fascinating and work? And it does. But then you also have just the great lines of like, have you been able to find Emily? No. Can't raise her at all?
No.
No. And
Right.
that like just using the word race, like it's part of the noir like odd lingo thing that's going on, but it
Yeah, it's a
also
double meaning.
carries so much power behind it, which is great. Gushing. Okay, love it.
Yeah, it's a very clever script.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's well done. That's the thing. So, yeah, Rian Johnson did a really good job
Good job, Ryan.
being a writer director on this flick, and the actors do a good job of,
Yep.
of getting their characters across really well, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just little funny things. Like, did you notice the? I'm sure you've noticed it before. You've watched it a bunch of times, but like the mirror when Tug grabs him and pushes him, and then like the mirror is flipping, which it would never. I've been near mirrors like that. There's no way that it flips like that many times consistently.
Well,
But it's
not
fun.
only that, but when it's getting worse and worse, when Tug's kind of squeezing in on him, the mirror actually speeds up. They actually like have somebody there pushing it faster and faster, and then of course it stops just perfectly. Okay, that is good production value, and I have no idea how long it took them to get that shot. Like that kind of stuff for me, I'm always shooting a little bit too fast. I don't have enough time because but they just nailed it. So that's good times.
But it's just a lot of little things like that.
Yep.
Little camera movements, little setups that are smart, and just it's the indie filmmaker way of saying, hey, I don't have a lot, but what's the important part about this?
Yep.
And can I do something cool with what I've got, right? And it's fun to see a noir film do that, because a lot of times you see that in horror films, because usually I got a budget of $1,000 and I made a great horror film, because that's like they're known for that. But not a lot of the other genres are touched with that kind of, I guess, intelligence or ability. Just thinking in that terms and being like, we can do this, we can pull this off. So
yeah, I even love like when she's doing her opening like poem while playing the piano thing, and then it kind of does a crossfade, and then you got like you just got the match light right in the background, and then that happens again when he's leaving the house, and then that doesn't come up again until the pin at his house when they're finally gonna like figure out are we gonna go to war or not. Like it's good stuff like that. And speaking of crossfades, personally I despise crossfades, hate crossfades. They're cheap and horrible, and do not use crossfades ever. And they use crossfades all the time in this movie, and overall it doesn't make me too angry, which
because it speeds it up.
Impressive. And it also gives you that time lapse feel, and it also is like, okay, we're taking time and we're getting there and we're doing things and stuff like that. But yeah, time lapse or crossfades, I hate crossfades, and they did it and it works. So good job there. Like, wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so now we've talked about things that work. Anything that didn't work for you, or because this movie is, well, it's clever and interesting, well written, well produced, shot well, done well with a low budget, really creative. What didn't work for you?
It is hard to think of what didn't work for me, and it's not necessarily that it's not there. It's just that I didn't see it or I didn't think about it, and that's perhaps one of the biggest compliments you can give to a film is if every film's going to have problems, but if an audience member goes in and doesn't care and doesn't notice and doesn't see it,
totally,
whatever, you did a good job. You've got them focused on the things you want them to focus
on. Totally. I will say for me, stuff that kind of didn't work, the third act, like the transition from the second act to the third act, when Tug takes him to his house, like every time the camera fades up from that moment, I'm always like, oh right, there's more. And like there's like the movie slows down for me at that point in time, which is fine because you've got the great monologue by Tug about it's a hell of a thing. Like it's good.
But it's smart though, because you need the time to process all the information that you're getting.
But at the same time, for me, like that moment, every time I watch the movie, I'm like, oh right, I gotta settle in again. Like it's not over. There's a whole lot more that we have to go through, and so that moment for me feels slow. Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
And just so anybody who's watching knows, this man will feel if you let up on the gas at all. He'll feel it. He'll know. Like that's his thing. I I'll go at a snail's pace and be okay for a lot of different things. He can't handle it.
Nope,
So,
I can't. So if you make a movie, just keep it rolling, and I'll be like, yeah, got it. Yep, going on. If you slow down at all, though, I'll be like,
and maybe it just might be because you're again, it's my second time, and that's why I think I appreciate that slow moment because I'm still trying to remember. I'm like, I kind of remember that he does something. I know that that's a thing. I know where this is going, but I don't really remember why they were doing this. And there's a lot of information, especially the first time. There's so many, again, all the plots and people and interweaving.
And the dialogue with all these weird words that just keep flying at
and
you.
And, can you keep up with it at all?
Yep.
And so even my second time, I'm like, okay, so I'm keeping up, but this is an important piece of information, which gives me a chance to, breathe, think, realize what's happening and where everybody's at so that I'm ready to go to the next place and get the next, reveal, crazy thing that happens. And just going to dote on this real quick. You said the sound work. I like the sound work. Particularly, I like it when the whole meeting at the end just goes to crap. And they hear it. Everybody who's important is in one room. Everybody who's leading everybody, who has the decision power, is in one room. And in one scene, when people leave, and they have no power. Everything is taken away. Everything they had just decided and worked for is gone because something went wrong upstairs. You don't even know what at first, and you just hear fighting and yelling and even a gunshot. And it's like holy crap! What just happened? Why did everything? And that's a great another great thing about the script is there's not Deus Ex Machina.
No.
But there are things in the same vein, but they're bad, and we don't care. An audience never cares if it's bad because we'll buy that. We won't buy it if it's all of a sudden good. We will buy if it's all of a sudden bad, and that's a great use of a quote unquote Deus Ex Machina gone bad moment. Like just holy crap, everything just went wrong. What? And it's all just sound. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And they take a camera, they look at the ceiling, they pan it, they get some reaction shots of people going, what is going on up there?
Yeah.
And it's just sound.
Totally sound. And it's awesome because that is something you can do with like 5 people. And that is a way to make just your movie huge without doing anything. And honestly, that plays into the horror genre and all that stuff where it's better to leave it to the viewer's imagination. Like it's way stronger to be like, oh my goodness, there is such a fight going up there, and it's great.
Yes, and at the same time, you have I think it's a delicate balance though, because if you leave everything to the imagination, you have no movie. You're a visual art form, right? So you have to show things, and that's the thing. We've got a moment where Tug shoots Dode in the face.
Yep.
Like we get a moment of violence and suddenness, and like we feel that and we see that, and it's small and it's doable. So when we get to a fight scene where we don't see anything, but we're in that world and we've been digesting these certain things, so we already know what it might look like. They've already given us, so to speak, a taste, this is what it might be like, and then they just let it go to your imagination. That's how that works. Don't just do everything to the imagination because that won't work. You have to have something, some baseline, some taste, some hint, some established thing that then you can work off of. That's another thing that's huge in the film. It's just plans and payoffs and all that kind of stuff in multiple ways.
Yeah, and I love it every time that there's a fight where like people are punching each other and stuff. Like you use the car sound going by, and when you really need to hit them, you have a truck go by. Like just that is great audio work. And then the fact that also like he gets punched, and then it's just like a quick shot of like the sun, right? Like there it is. There's that shot. Like. Good stuff with that. Okay, so other things that don't work quite so well. Because now we're just going back to like, yay! Okay, other things that don't work quite so well for me. I think there's a couple characters and a couple moments within characters that just, I'm not totally sure. For me, it's Clara and the lapdog person. Like that just it doesn't quite. Like I get what we're trying to go for, and I can see how it's sort of funny, but like it doesn't quite work for me. I just don't quite get it. However, the rest of the whole theater thing, if you've been in high school theater, that was hilarious. Okay, like should I kiss her now? Okay, like so good. Okay, like that's just fantastic. People are just behind the stage sweeping. Why? It's so good. So that works. But Clara. Like there's lots of stuff about that just didn't quite work for me.
it's one of those things where the more you see it, probably the better it is. But this script could almost be described as almost a little too clever in places. Like there's just too much going on
There's a lot going
sometimes.
on.
Okay, maybe okay, yeah, too much. I don't know, but it's a matter of can you keep up or can you not,
Right.
and who's your audience, right? So at some level, if you write too clever or too much going on and you can't communicate it clearly, it's gonna get really, really muddy really quick. So that entire character, like her character makes more sense now seeing it the second time of how like the role she plays.
Right.
But it's so like there's so many people.
Yeah.
And there's so many things going on, and and like you said, the dialogue, the lingo. I mean, it's cool, but I gotta keep up, man. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Just speak English, dude. So they're all over the place, and so you gotta be on your game your first time watching this movie. You gotta be paying attention, hearing, remembering names and people and lingo, and so. I mean, in some regards, it's kind of fun to have the overload because, again, it makes them feel more competent. The characters in that world feel more competent because they're able to keep up with everything. But on the other hand, you want to be with your character. There's moments, like you said, like with the grass going by where it's like the character's ahead of you. But even then, it's very quick.
Yeah.
It's very like, oh, he's ahead of me, and then you realize what's happening. Like, oh, okay.
Yep.
But that's the thing. Little moments like that, you don't want to be lost. You don't want the audience to be lost. And there are. It's easy. I could see how it could be very easy in Brick to suddenly get lost because there's just so much happening, so many different characters. But that's another, then on the flip side, they're doing everything they can to make that work, where characters are very distinctive in their wardrobe and how they act. Like the jock. The jock is tall and well built, but he's always complaining about how he's not going to be put in the game. So I know I know enough about who this guy is, what he's like. So when he says the sap later, I know exactly who he's talking about because it's the only guy that makes sense in my mind to be the sap, right? It just Tug, the hothead. Like enough said. The guy's always wearing a freaking wife beater, all buff.
I love that he's always holding his arms like this right in front of him, like whatever he's watching. Oh my goodness, so funny. Okay, good times.
Again, the way they play the character, the way they set the wardrobe, and his actions. Like, I mean, they do everything.
The fact that he always has like this blood thing.
Yeah, what is that? Is that a birthmark? Is that just blood? Like,
no, I think it's perpetual blood. Like he just. That's what I think it is.
What is he in the Fifth Element now? He's just got something coming down his. Anyway, so Tug, I mean, the pin. That's everything. The bad guy, like really everybody in this movie, no one, like except for the girls, I don't think anybody changes clothes. Like really that often. Everybody's wearing the same freaking outfit, and that helps. Like it's not a bad thing. I don't think. Well, come on now. It's day 5. Should you be something? No.
Well, it's like day 2, but yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. 2 days earlier.
But it's the pin. The pin, if he's really making that much money, has more than a black like cleric robe or something that he's wearing, right? And Tug's got more, like, now I believe that's the other thing. I believe that Tug would wear the same thing every day.
And he probably has like 10 of the
same exact thing, right? And the jock, the way they get around that is that, well, I guess he's in like the toga.
He's in the toga at the party.
Right, which is, it's a party, so you get away with it. But and that's the thing. What's the through line is what he's saying. Yep. He's complaining in this scene, he's complaining in this scene, right? Like it's that same guy who's at the party because it's the same. There's enough through lines and enough. I mean, again, so it can be very complicated, but there's also they're working really hard. They're doing really good stuff to try to make it so it's as clear as possible. But there's just a level where, especially, I always feel this way in any movie about names. Especially if I've just barely met a character, you said the name maybe once or twice, and then 30 minutes later you're bringing up that character. Well, what about Cat? I'm like, there's a Cat. Cat. Who's Cat? I don't remember Cat. And I know, I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on. I gotta wait to the scene where they go and they like, hey, Cat, did you do this? I'm like, oh, that's you. Cat.
Right.
So you were, and I have to backtrack, and then I get lost with the dialogues happening at the moment. So I used to be stupid, but like I have a hard time sometimes remembering. So Brick is on the borderline for me. It's clever, it's smart, it's great. They're doing a great job. But yeah, it's like, whoa, dude, speak English sometimes. Let me know who the person is. Like, even if you said the straw guy, or that one dude who's always, like, in black and drugging, like I can keep up with that, but they're not, they're going to use the names, but anyway, it's just...
I love the Pin's giant shoe, like, just the shoe that's just, like, that's, okay, good good times with
I
that.
like him being shuttled around in a old van with a lamp and a like. He's at, you know, you get the impression not that the filmmakers feel this way, because you get the impression the filmmakers are in on the joke, but you get the impression that that guy thinks he's all of that in a bag of chips, being like driven around in an old van with an old lamp and like
Maroon van, no less.
it's so bad.
Yeah, it's kind of compressed as well. Like
Yeah.
it's not. Oh, so good. Okay, yeah.
I have my secret meetings in this maroon van. Which just adds that level of he's the kingpin, but he's the kingpin for high school, right? Like,
Yeah.
this guy's a loser.
Right.
He's an absolute loser, living with his mom,
Yep.
doing drug deals. He's doing drug deals, and he doesn't have enough money to move out from his mom. Like,
Right. Right.
Anyway, it's wonderful, but it's all, yeah. So there's just so much going on in that movie.
For me, I can't even believe that they found so many overcast days to shoot this movie, because it's SoCal. You know, like you have overcast like. How did you find those days? And then like the beautiful sunrise day with like the clouds in the sky and the sun coming up, and then the beach sunset scene, like that was unreal. Like you get the sun just right there, and then you've got like 10 minutes to get all the shots you need, all the different setups, and you've got the waves coming in, and you get good audio. How do you do that? You put the characters facing away from the camera, so you can do all the dialogue whenever you want. Later.
DVR, that's right.
Boom, brilliant, fantastic. And that, again, is using what you have and being creative to pull out something that's just genius because of it. And yet you're still able to move fast, to get your stuff done. Love it. Love it from a low-budget filmmaking perspective. Just love that. Okay, so themes. We're supposed to talk about themes and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
we should
World building. Well, we kind of already talked about world building.
We talked about a lot.
It's mostly character building in this world, but then with that character building, it's the characters who do things within their world, and that builds out the world for me.
And that's really how it should be. I mean, we've talked about this before. It's like you want characters making actions, and that's kind of what reveals something about the story, about them, obviously, about the world they're in. You know, it's
really good. Okay, so thematically in this movie, I was like, okay, so what's the theme of this movie? It's competence, friendship, love, and
you're just naming qualities. I am competent and I am friendly, and thus I am the theme of this movie. No, that's not.
No. So theme of this movie, you're way better at this theme thing.
Well, I haven't. I'm thinking. I'm like, what is the theme of this particular movie? Brick, like, because here's the thing. Let's just talk about the ending real quick.
Yeah, let's talk about the ending. The ending.
Right.
Dirty word.
We get the dirty word, which I don't. I'm not smart enough to know if that's implied as something specific or if that's just supposed to be general, because I didn't catch that. I'm too stupid for that.
Okay, well, I didn't catch it the first time. I was like, what did she whisper to him? Come on, don't brain so I know, because what? Okay, it's father.
I was gonna say, is it father?
It's totally father. She whispers
word.
She whispers father, and she's already led up to it with the 3-month thing, because before that it's all 2 months. Everything is 2 months. It's been 2 months. 2 months. I haven't seen you in a couple months. 2 months. 2 months. 2 months. 3 months.
I always understood, even not hearing that line. I always understood. Okay, she's saying that he's the father of the child, right? And that's the last gut punch thing for the film noir,
right?
But he's so like again calls it a dirty word.
Mm-hmm.
He acts as if it doesn't affect him. So it's different. Like, so think Chinatown, film noir, classic film noir. When everything comes to an end, it's like devastating. He's broken, and you know he's broken.
Mm-hmm.
He's hurt, and that's how it ends. In this movie, in this movie, he gets, and that's the thing, he gets out of everything.
Yep.
He succeeds.
Yep.
He does what he set out to do. And that's kind of where the revenge, like, that's the thing. That's why I think revenge flick, because it's not big in the movie, but it's got, like, the beginning of when he says, I'm going to go do this. And at the end, when he's like, screw you, I did it.
Right.
And he gets away with it.
And that's where his whole thing of, like, you know, it's not true. It's not true. I really hope not, because, and then cut, you know, to the shot of the locker, and, like, just so good with that. Okay. Yeah.
So, like, again, so thinking, you know, we got revenge in this movie.
Yep.
You've got the film noir, like, the twist at the end, right?
Yep.
Where she was actually carrying his child, right?
Right.
And what's the theme, right? Like, what's really going on there? There's also this brief conversation earlier between him and Emily, which is about him, right? Which is like, you always like you wanted to control me and you wanted to take me away from everything. You wanted to be in your own world. You didn't want to have anybody else in your world. So it's like this. He's this isolationist guy.
Well,
Right?
he's pulling her away from the drug world, right?
Right.
And actually, even that is brilliant because like the way they do his hair for like 3 months ago or 2 months ago,
Yes.
like he's got the white shirt on, his hair is kind of parted.
Parted. Yep.
And then when he's with the femme fatale, right at the very end there, he's down to his white shirt and
Yeah.
he's parted.
Right.
Brilliant, good job
Some
echoing.
bookending,
Yep.
mirroring
Oh,
stuff.
love it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, try to think about like what is his final disposition? Is he hurt? Is because he doesn't look hurt. He says dirty word. Like, is that just him saying, she's lying? I'm not going to believe her. Is that him saying no matter what it is?
He's toast. He is totally toast. He is totally undone by that at the end. And I love that Brain comes out of his head, says his few lines, walks back behind, and disappears because they cut away for him to get across the. Like just that little piece there where he is now alone in the world. The girl that could have, had she been who she claimed to be and who he hoped she would be but knew she wasn't, she's walking off into the distance. He's totally alone. And what's he going to go do now, right? Because he no longer has somebody to save. He no longer has somebody that he's going to try and pull out of an evil world that he himself got out of only at huge personal sacrifice by doing that. And so then he just is like, okay, and he turns away from the camera and cut to black. Because what else are you going to do? Like, where else are you going to go? Who else are you going to become? Like, he has his entire life ahead of him because he's lost everything in his previous life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then what's the theme? Is the theme like the price of change? Is what's going on there?
High school sucks.
Well, that's everyone's life theme. Everyone knows that.
Okay, no.
No.
Yeah, I think a big part of the theme here. Speaking of love again, and no, I'm not just mentioning attributes. No, but like love and how much it hurts here when you can't save the person. I think that is a huge piece of it, and the movie starts with that, where you see him affected and hurting, and yet perplexed by this girl. But then you find out more and more how much he cared for her. And then you discover not only did he care for her, but that was his child that she was carrying. Like, they had a thing, they had a potential future together, and he's lost it all. And I mean, that is very Noir.
Right.
The guy who is just down on his luck, has lost everything, it's all over kind of thing. And in this case, it very much, I mean, the final punch to the gut, yeah, it's all over.
But the film noirs are often like morality tales, like Chinatown, right? It's like you shouldn't trust her, you shouldn't go there. Chinatown, always something bad happens in Chinatown. There's all these warnings. It's kind of like don't do it. Double Indemnity is all about he gets seduced, he decides to try to help her and commits crimes and such to try to like get what he wants. And it's kind of this morality tale of you shouldn't have done that, doofus. Like everything fell apart. She's not with you. You're toast now. It's got the noirs. They're not all this way, but there's a sense in my mind of like they kind of have this morality tale vibe to them, and or the idea of the thing that you can't get, the thing that you want that you'll never get.
Well,
like and that's in here too.
That's
right?
in here,
right? But that's not really the theme, right? It's a genre. It's a genre mechanic. It's part of that, and there's definitely a feeling there. But what is the theme of Brick? What is it? Is it just that the pain of loving someone that you can't save? Because that's probably the closest I can think right now.
That's fair. Don't do drugs, kids. It's a good
drugs.
thing.
Drugs are the worst. I got all 5 of my senses, and I slept last night. Puts me 6 up on all of you.
So good. Yeah. Okay. So there's theme. There's that. Yeah. From a structure standpoint, is there anything else we're supposed to talk about here?
From a structure standpoint,
like, because otherwise I'm just gonna keep talking about how much this movie is awesome and well done and put together and stuff.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I think we might have more to talk about to compare with Brick when we watch Looper next week. Because it's a Rian Johnson fest right now.
Rian Johnson.
Except we're skipping the one we don't really care for, which is Brothers Bloom,
which I haven't even watched.
I fell asleep in it. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Ryan.
It might be great. I don't know.
It might be brilliant.
I fell asleep.
Don't screw up Star Wars. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's
pretty much it.
Yeah, that's pretty much
week.
it. Yeah. Okay. So thank you guys so much for joining us. If you feel like you have a better idea of what the theme of this movie is, let us know. Like, that would be awesome. Let's see. And then I'm supposed to go down here. Oh, where's my mouse? Hey, there we go. And click this thing. Yeah. Thank you for joining us for After the Movies.
Yes.
Hope you guys enjoy Brick. And if you don't, let us know why in the comments or something.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Look for next week. Come check it out.
Yeah, don't miss that. It'll be awesome.
I'll be loving on that movie.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk about that later. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys some other time.